evening. It is Monday, February 2nd, 2026. This is a Finance Committee meeting. It's 6:05 p.m. Our discussion tonight is for the Community Reinvestment Area boundaries. And present, myself, Chair of the Committee, Mary Westfall, Marcus Hanson, Patrick Richardson, Mr. Hainum, I expect to be joining us shortly. Also joining us from City Council, Sean Murphy and Brian McCann. Mayor Fry is with us, as well as other members of administration, Leslie Brining, Laura Smith, Toby Schroyer, Chief Miller, and Joe Shaw. The discussion tonight is focused on the community reinvestment area out by Centennial and, Little Road and Centennial. And we did have an initial meeting on this on November 17th, 2025. After some discussion, the group really felt that we should consider the boundaries a little bit more, and people thought they would like to take a look and possibly expand this particular CRA either north of Centennial, perhaps even north of Centennial and west of Erie. No, north of Erie, west of Centennial. Got it. Other items that we wanted to consider as we looked at this legislation were in Section 4. Considering the percentage of the tax exemption for CRAs, and also taking a look at the terms for the exemptions, and then also to make sure that we are all recalling that this legislation does require that the applicant would reach an agreement with the school system to make sure that they are whole, that they are not impacted by this. Finally, in Section 7, there is a discussion about the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council, which, again, I think we might have Ms. Brining help us a bit with refreshing our memories on that, if that's all right. Any other comments from you at this point?
No, I think you summarized it very well.
So with that, I don't know whether Patrick or Marcus, either of you have had a chance to review this a little bit more. If you have any perspectives or feelings, I have a couple thoughts, but I thought I'll open it up to your thoughts. If you've got any.
Yeah, I mean, as we discussed before, I think expanding it makes some sense to certain properties around there that that this just seems like a good fit for that geographically and the use. I think that would be good. We talked about the Rite Aid property there. Mm-hmm. What is that at the northwest corner?
Yep. Northwest corner.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with Mr. Richardson. I guess the question I have, and I'm really open to either idea, but if we went not just north but west on Centennial, that includes Summer Place and Quarry's Edge.
Oh,
which I don't know that
yeah.
There's a benefit to doing that.
I'd have to understand exactly where the boundary is.
Yeah, I think it's just west of that, right?
It is. Those are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, we could certainly include those as well. And also just one point of clarification, I know on our pre-94 CRAs, there's a limit to the number of times that we can amend them and still retain the pre-94 CRA properties. Since this is a post-94 CRA, we can amend the territory and add to it at any time, and there's an unlimited number. So, but so if we at the next meeting or the meeting after that, if we take a look and we're like, oh shoot, we could always include it.
Okay.
But I will for sure include Summer Place and the Rite Aid and that Church 321, that strip.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That as well.
How old is that housing stock there in Summer Place?
I think at least 20 years, okay. 25 years probably.
All right.
That's what I'm guessing. So, and we did have two residents just recently. I don't have the final determination back from the auditor, but these are the only two residents we've ever had take advantage of the CRA that just for remodeling and improvement. So I'll be interested to see what that savings is, and that'll be a good litmus test, I think, for if it makes sense to include these types of neighborhoods. But
I think that's a good question.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I think that is the question. How much housing should actually come into these
and how much of a benefit is it really? Yeah. But I'll keep you guys posted on it. It will probably take a while, but as soon as I get it, I'll let you guys know.
So you're comfortable with that?
I am.
We had a brief conversation about should we include the bank area. I feel like that side and north is it's not particularly old, and so I feel very comfortable just looking at this place, at this chunk of property that we've discussed. Also, I feel like we have a huge benefit in that we can revisit these as needed if there are additional requests. So I don't think there's any reason to make it any broader at this point. So with that, I think that we would have one more discussion about the section 4. I think that Ms. Brining put together the length of time and the tax exemptions. I think they've worked for me. I think you used, help us understand where you got these from. They were part of what we've done in other CRAs in our area.
That's correct. Yep, these are
This is
just the
consistent.
same, yep,
Okay.
consistent with the other ones.
All right, so I feel very comfortable to leave those as they are. Is that something that can also be visited in the future?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of comfort in knowing that we can revisit
Right,
these.
exactly.
And finally, the only thing that's significantly different, and this is not anything that we need to vote on or not vote on, it's already included in this legislation, is this Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council, which has a lot of responsibility. Ms. Brining, who puts that together? Like, that will come from administration?
Yes,
We'll put
well, that,
together?
once the legislation is in a final position, then I'll, the two members are appointed by the mayor, 2 are appointed by the council, and 1 is appointed by the planning commission. So it's a little bit of a different makeup than what we're used to seeing, but that's how the housing council is established. And then also, that section also refers to a tax incentive review council, and we are already a part of that. The Lucas County has one. We meet annually to review all of the CRAs and everything in the entire county. So we don't have to do anything extra there. We're already a part of it.
Perfect, okay. For the record, Mr. Hainham has joined us, and I think that we're in good shape here. I'd like to take a minute and make sure we share with Mr. Hainham what we've discussed and make sure that he's comfortable, if he's got any other input.
I'll just tell you, don't go by Northview High School when there's a basketball.
I'm sure. Well, the good news is that I had already had a conversation with you
Right.
about this and kind of knew what you were thinking. And just to bring you up to speed, I feel like Mr. Richardson and Mr. Hanson both felt like the Rite Aid property and the church property behind it, as well as that Summer Place property, made sense to pull them all into the CRA. And we are ready to, unless you've got something else to add, to accept a motion to that.
The plaza where the church is, is that Summer Place?
I
No.
don't know what that's called. The Summer Place is the neighborhood.
Neighborhood right behind.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep, but I'll include that as well.
okay.
So is there a motion to amend this legislation, ask administration to amend this legislation to include that section?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's moved and seconded to amend the legislation to include the items that we discussed. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss with regard to this legislation? I think we're ready to go. Is there anything else to come before the finance committee at this time?
I'm sure you discussed this, but obviously this is a new CRA. They have to work out a deal with schools, and we can expand this at any time. This is not one of the original ones, right?
Okay. Great. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned at 6:14.
Good evening and welcome to the February 2nd, 2026 council meeting for the city of Sylvania. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson? Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Dow?
Here.
Mrs. Westfall?
Here.
All 7 members of city council are in attendance, therefore a quorum does exist. We'd like to start the meeting again with the pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Hanson. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to additions to the agenda. The administration has nothing to add at this particular time. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to add a plan for scheduling a committee of the whole meeting to review and discuss legislation limiting use of the city resources for federal immigration.
Okay, let's call that potential committee of the whole 19A. Prior to the executive session. Anything else that needs to?
Mr. Mayor, we do have these 2 ordinances from, and I don't know who's gonna add them to the agenda.
That's okay. You can.
Were you gonna add them?
Yeah, I
Okay, I'll let you look. Just wanna make sure we knew who was.
Understand. So nothing else?
That's it.
Mrs.
Thank you,
Westphal?
Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
members of council, anything that they would like added to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson.
I'd like to add a brief summary of the Temacog General Assembly.
Temacog summary. Call that 19D for now.
19B.
D as in David. Any other members of council want to add?
What was SUP number 1?
We haven't gotten there yet. For the SUPs.
I'm gonna add those.
Ms. Branning's gonna look to add those.
Okay.
Other members of council, anything to add to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanem.
thank you. I'd like to move that we amend the agenda to have a first reading of ordinance number 37-2006, which is, I believe, the ordinance that, or the subject of the committee of the whole that Ms. Westfall was referring to. The ordinance title is limiting the use of city resources for federal immigration enforcement, assuring equal access to city services, benefits, programs, or protections, and declaring an emergency. I'm proposing that we do a first reading of the ordinance tonight.
So we have ordinance number 37, 2026 you would like to add to the agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Hanem?
That's correct.
Thank you. That would be agenda item then, potential agenda item 19B. Other members of council, anything that they would like to add to the agenda? Hearing none, Mr. Schroyer.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Smith.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Branning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to add special use permit number 1-2026. We're not voting on that. Okay. I would like to add those SUP 1-2026 and SUP 2-2026 for referral to the Plan Commission.
And can those be added as one item, Ms. Branning? Or they need to be separate items?
I would prefer them be separate because
Okay.
there's 2 separate
This is getting more
numbers.
complicated then.
I'm
Okay, so,
sorry.
no problem. SUP 1-2026 we'll call 19C. And SUP 2-2026 we will call 19E as in Edward. Okay. 2026. Anything else, Ms. Branning, to
No,
add to
that's
the
it,
agenda?
Mr. Mayor. Thank
Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Hold on, Mr. Hanem.
I'm sorry, we need to, Ms. Dow needs to push back for these 2, C and E,
For the vote?
yeah, for the vote.
So, in your recommendation would be to do what then? Allow Ms. Dow to
to push back from the table on all of them at one time, or how do you think is best to handle that?
Just the two items that she's representing.
So that would be permissible in regards to
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Dow, is it your intention to, due to a potential conflict of interest, to push back on 19C and 19E? Is that correct?
Correct.
Do I have a motion to allow Ms. Dow to push back for a potential conflict of interest
So
on?
moved.
Second, hold on, let me finish. To push back on potential agenda items, 19C and 19E.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to allow Ms. Dow to push back for potential conflict of interest on 19C and 19E. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, thank you very much. Now, with that understanding, do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda as submitted?
So moved.
We have a motion for Mr. Haynen, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
No. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem,
Yes.
Mr. McCann,
No.
Mr. Murphy,
No.
Mr. Richardson,
No.
Ms. Stout.
I'm pushed back.
I thought it was
Just for
only on
those
those
two.
two.
Just for those two.
Yep.
Yes.
No. Mrs. Westfall,
No.
What's the final count?
4
Ms.
noes, 3 yeses.
So the council agenda as amended is not approved. Therefore, we have never encountered this situation before. So to me,
Neither have I in 23 years here.
so we can go by this. We can either sit with the existing agenda or we can vote each one of these individually. It's council's thought process.
We have 5 added agenda items,
Correct.
so I would think we would look at each one individually.
I agree with that.
Is that?
Yes.
Okay, so. Agenda item 19A, a committee of the whole for proposed legislation regarding limiting city resources for federal immigration enforcement. Do I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the committee of the whole regarding the proposed legislation to be added to the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Potential agenda item 19B, we have ordinance number 37, 2026 for potential adding to the agenda. Do I have a motion to add agenda item 19B to the amended agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to add ordinance number 37, 2026 as agenda item 19B. All those in
Mr.
favor?
Mayor?
Mr. Hanem.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this amendment. Ordinance number 37, 2026 is titled Limiting the Use of City Resources for Federal Immigration Enforcement, assuring equal access to city services, benefits, programs, or protections, and declaring an emergency. This is premised on the idea that the city of Sylvania is committed to protecting the civil and human rights of all residents, workers, and visitors, regardless of their immigration status. And that it's important for people who are in the city, regardless of their immigration status, to feel comfortable dealing with public safety. And I think it's essential that the city deliver effective services, benefits, programs, and protections to all persons in the city, regardless of their immigration status. Federal courts have recognized that the federal government cannot compel local jurisdictions to administer or enforce regulatory programs, including immigration enforcement. And this ordinance suggests that the city of Sylvania will opt out of participating in those immigration enforcement activities. Rather, the resources of the city of Sylvania will be focused and applied to meeting the needs of our community and our residents. So we're gonna spend money plowing snow, picking up leaves, having good, reliable police services, supplying water to all persons in the city of Sylvania, and not devoting resources to the federal immigration enforcement effort, which is entirely by statute the responsibility of our federal government. The city of Sylvania has no role in the enforcement of our federal immigration laws. I think it's also important that we make it clear that we will not discriminate in the city of Sylvania against anyone, including specifically anyone based on their immigration status. This ordinance is, I'm the author of the ordinance. It didn't come from someplace else. I have vetted the ordinance with qualified and experienced immigration counsel, and to be sure that there are no pitfalls here. The ordinance specifically states that the city will comply with all state and federal law with regard to immigration matters. And there are certain things that are spelled out in the United States Code, and those are specifically recognized. What's not required in the code is that we actively pursue information and gather information to assist the federal government in the exercise of immigration enforcement matters. And I believe that it's appropriate and in the best interest of the city that we don't expend resources on those matters, but spend our resources on the people of the city of Sylvania and the people who come here to enjoy our parks and our businesses and who come here for whatever reason. So it's for that reason that I put together this ordinance. I circulated it to all of council last week. They've all had an opportunity to review it, think about it, contact me about it. I would like to, I'm perfectly, as my vote shows, I'm interested in having further discussion on this on a committee of the whole, but I think it's appropriate and timely to introduce the ordinance today for a first reading so that the community at large, not just in Sylvania, because there will be other people interested in this, community at large will be aware of exactly what is proposed and also what is not in this ordinance. Because I am confident that there will be an effort to cast this ordinance as something that it is not. I have already received some of those comments just today. So I know that that will happen. The ordinance is simple and limited. It says we'll spend city money on city responsibilities and we won't discriminate against people based on their immigration status. And it's for that reason that I think it's appropriate now to have a first reading of this ordinance, to get it before council, and to make it available to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Hanem. Any other comments from members of council? Hearing none, we have the consideration for adding ordinance number 37, 2026 as agenda item 19B. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem,
Yes.
Mr. McCann,
No.
Mr. Murphy? No. Mr. Richardson,
No.
Ms. Stout,
No.
Mrs. Westfall.
No.
Ms. Smith, what's the count?
The count is, 2 yeas and 5 nays.
So the ordinance 37, 2026 will not be added to the amended agenda. Moving on to agenda item 19C, we have SUP 1-2026, recognizing earlier on that Ms. Stowe has pushed back from the table in regards to this particular matter. Do I have a motion to add agenda item 19C to the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to add SUP 1-2026 as agenda item 19C. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and agenda item SUP 1-2026 is added to the agenda as 19C. Moving on to agenda item 19D. We have a request to provide a TMACOG summary from the meeting last week. Do I have a motion to add that to the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve or add agenda item 19D to the agenda, the amended agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and agenda item 19D, TMACOG summary will be added to the amended agenda. Moving on to agenda item 19E, we have SUP 2-2026, recognizing that Ms. Stowe has pushed back from the table on this agenda item, or potential agenda item as well. Do I have a motion to add agenda item 19E, SUP 2-2026?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to add agenda item 19E, SUP 2-2026. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, thank you very much. And our agenda items are now what is listed, with the exception of agenda item 19B, which will not be added to the amended agenda. That is the amended agenda, is that not correct, Ms.? So, Mr. Hanson.
If I may, just for clarity, Mrs. Westfall said the committee of the whole meeting, the purpose was to discuss the ordinance that Mr. Hanem presented.
Scheduled.
Now that that ordinance has not passed, what is the intent of the committee of the whole?
Mrs. Westfall.
So, our goal is to have a discussion among council members of the legislation. We have not been able to discuss it as a body. I did not feel like we were ready for our first reading until we've all had a chance to review and to have that discussion. Mr. Hanem certainly will be able to present his case to all of us then, so we can understand better. We can take a careful look at the legal issues surrounding this. I have a sense that we should be taking the temperature of our chief of police. We should understand from our law director what's going on. Our administrative staff has not had a chance to weigh in on this, so I just feel like we need to be more comprehensive in our thinking about this. We have every intention to review this with the focus and transparency that we always do with every piece of legislation. And at this point in time, I just didn't feel like I was ready, and I know that some of my fellow council members really felt they needed the committee of the whole to ask the questions to understand exactly what is being requested here and what should be moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Stowe. Sure.
You probably noticed I switched from a yes to no between the two questions. I was under the impression that when we were doing the first vote, that when we discussed scheduling the community of the whole, we would discuss whether we were comfortable with scheduling reading the title tonight. I look forward to discussing this, and but I am not at a point where I feel comfortable feeling like we're rushing it ahead, and that's why I don't support reading the title yet.
Thank you for the comment, Ms. Stowe. Any other clarifications? I would like to take a comment. Mr. Hanem, as you know, I was uncomfortable with the ordinance. I appreciate your comments. What makes me uncomfortable isn't necessarily what's embedded in the ordinance itself, it's the process by which we got here. You gave us this ordinance to the administrative staff at 11:16 a.m. on Tuesday morning. That's when you sent it out to council and to the administrative staff. We needed to get the agenda together 3 days later. And while I understand that you have some expertise in this area and you spoke with other attorneys who have similar expertise, that's not what the law director's role is, to determine what this particular thing, whether it follows state law, whether it follows federal law, and while I understand you have the opinion that it does, the law director did not have time with other things going on her agenda, and I was not going to ask the law director to drop everything else that she was doing to focus on this issue. So that process question, without contacting and talking to the police chief, without contacting the law director, without contacting the director of public safety and asking them, was why we did not have sufficient time to review this document. The second thing, you made a comment that I did not allow you the opportunity, and bluntly, I guess my concern about that is you seem to be under the impression that any member of council has the unilateral right to add anything to the agenda without the other members of council engaging in that regard. Mrs. Westfall, as president of the council, has that right. I, as the chair of this particular meeting, as my understanding of the Ohio Revised Code, set the agenda with Mrs. Westfall having the opportunity. She had the opportunity to review that document before the packet was put together. So, understanding your thought process in regards to this particular matter, it is a practical matter that one member of city council cannot add unilaterally, because there is, at that point, absolutely no limit on how many matters would ever come before an agenda, ever. You could add 148 things, or any other member of council. So this is not just about this question, this is about future mayors and future councils and the ability to decide what is on the agenda and what is not on the agenda. Ultimately, council members, you all had this opportunity to add things from the agenda. But to indicate in an email that I was usurping your authority as a member of council, I find very problematic for me. I did no such thing. You had every opportunity to have conversation about this, and I gave you plenty of time to make your point, and you made it eloquently. I look forward to hearing from the police chief on how many of these particular items that you're concerned about are already in the city's policies, because you didn't check, right? I look forward to having those conversations and getting the engagement to evaluate what the law director and outside counsel has to say regarding whether this comports with state and federal law. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. if I may,
Mr. Hanem, briefly.
I received an agenda today with 22 items on it. I got it on Friday. And I'm supposed to be prepared to review, comment, and vote on these items on something that I got on Friday. That's how we do things. The fact that you got the material on Tuesday was at least 3 days earlier than I got 22 items that are on our agenda for tonight. That I've had to research since Friday when it came through on the email at 11 o'clock or so in the morning. So I don't think this was an overly burdensome task to evaluate the ordinance in advance. Secondly, I don't acknowledge your position about who has the right to set the agenda under the charter. And I think as you referenced in one conversation with me, that might be something that some judge will have to decide, and that might be the option. That, in fact, I was working on making that case directly until I had reason to believe that the ordinance would be added to the agenda tonight. That didn't happen. I understand where we are. We're going to have a committee of the whole meeting to discuss it. I think I'll be prepared to talk in favor of the ordinance at that time, but I don't agree with your characterization of the mayor's powers with regard to the agenda of these meetings. It may be a practice that we have observed, but I don't acknowledge that that's the law or that is anywhere in our charter.
Welcome to your opinion, Mr. Hanem. Thank you.
And yours.
Moving on, we have approval of the council meeting minutes from January 20th, 2026. Mrs. Westfall. Pardon?
Did we take the vote on that?
Yeah, it's done.
I just couldn't remember.
Right.
All right. Yes, I would like to move approval of the minutes of the Sylvania City Council meeting held January 20th, 2026 as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the council meeting from January 20th, 2026. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the report from the Finance Committee held this evening. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Finance Committee met this evening, Monday, February 2nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. to discuss the community reinvestment area boundaries for the Centennial and Little Road, possible CRA. Present were committee members Mary Westfall, Marcus Hanson, Doug Hanem, Patrick Richardson, also other council members Sean Murphy, Brian McCann. For the record, Mayor Fry was present, as well as Leslie Brining, Laura Smith, Toby Schroyer, Chief Miller, and Joe Shaw. We had a discussion about some CRA legislation that had been shared with us in November. Our committee members at that time wanted some time to think this through and determine if the boundaries aligned. And so we brought it back this evening. The council members determined that they would like to see the CRA that was proposed add this section from Rite Aid and the Crossroads Church area, as well as Summer Place, the Summer Place neighborhood. Mr. Richardson put a motion on the floor to that end, and Mr. Hanson seconded that, and that motion did pass. We did make sure that we noted that the school system will be made whole, will not be impacted by these CRAs. And we had some other light discussion about the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council. And then we moved to adjourn that meeting. Mr. Hanson moved adjournment. Mr. Richardson moved adjournment, Mr. Hanson seconded, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:14.
Thank you, Mrs. Westfall. Any questions or comments from members of council? Hearing none. Moving on to agenda item number 6, we have ordinance number 25, 2026. So, Ms. Brining, what is this ordinance about? If you could bring us up to speed. We see this every year, but I
Yes,
want to
yes.
bring it up to the public.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our annual ordinance to update our codified ordinance pages. Most of these that are added and amended in the traffic code especially are just to make our code consistent with the Ohio Revised Code and amendments that the state legislature has imposed. So you can see there's a summary of all of the sections and what was added. But I would recommend its approval if anybody has any questions.
Hearing no questions, we have ordinance number 25, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 25, 2026, and I'll read by title only. An ordinance to approve, adopt, and enact current replacement pages to the codified ordinances, to repeal ordinances in conflict with therewith, to publish the enactment of new matter. I move passage of ordinance number 25-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 25, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 7, we have a construction project for resurfacing. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. In front of you tonight is our bid award recommendation for the Convent Boulevard and Little Road resurfacing project. We were in front of council on December 1st requesting the authorization to advertise, and that went very well over the Christmas holidays, and bids were opened on January 20th. We had 6 bids, which is actually extremely good for an asphalt resurfacing project for us. The low bid was from Helms and Sons Excavating in the amount of $530,158.25, well below our published engineer's estimate prepared by our consultant at $737,240. So a very good bid, lots of good numbers in your ordinance packet there. This was a planned project in our 2026 capital improvement budget. As a reminder, OPWC will be funding about 27.1% of the project, which is roughly $143,673 The remainder of those funds will come from the locally funded capital improvement account listed in your letter. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? News on the bid.
Yep.
Hearing no additional questions, we have ordinance 26, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 26, 2026. I'll read by title only. Accepting the bid of Helms and Son Excavating and awarding the contract for the Convent Boulevard and Little Road resurfacing project to same, authorizing the expenditure for the improvements in the amount of $530,158.25, appropriating funds therefore, and I'll move for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And ordinance 26, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 8, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you is a proposal from American Structure Point to provide construction management services on our ODOT LPA project, which is our pedestrian hybrid beacons that we will be replacing in front of Highland, Sylvan, McCord, and Southview schools for our school system. Those currently have the rapid flash beacons on them. Those will get changed out to pedestrian hybrid beacons like in front of St. Joe's and on Herman Road. American Structure Point has done a superb job for us over the last few years managing our LPA construction work. Very specific requirements that go with those types of things. They provided a proposal to us after the letter of interest process in the amount of $100,073 to complete the scope of work. Super thrilled to have them a part of our project again. And this was budgeted in our 2026 budget from the account listed. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson.
just one question. I'm wondering if you have any sense on why we only received one letter of intent on this project?
It's been that way for the last few, at least on construction management services. I don't know that I have a full grasp of that. I do know they have done a very good job of putting a strong sense in Northwest Ohio. This group has, so don't know if I have a real good answer for that. Maybe some other projects, other consultants were thinking about for this particular year, so.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 27, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Stout.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 27-2026 and read by title only. Accepting the proposal of American Structure Point Incorporated to provide construction management services for the pedestrian hybrid beacon project, appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $100,073. I move for passage of ordinance number 27-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 27, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And ordinance 27, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 9, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Marching our way through our third project on the agenda today that has outside grant funding assistance. This one is for resurfacing of Monroe Street from Main to Haroon. If you've driven that recently, you noticed the condition of that, which is to be expected. The goal was to try to finish our downtown project and then finish the US 23 project, and then we've got this pavement section in the middle that we can dress up with a resurfacing project when we were finished after all of that work is done, and that's what's in front of you tonight. So back in September 2nd, you saw a joint cooperation agreement with the Lucas County Engineer as well as Sylvania Township to administer this project. They have a bunch of roads that they're doing, Nantucket, Pembridge Woods subdivision, a few other township roads, and then we have our Monroe Street. So this is for Feller Finch to provide the topographic field survey and engineering. Their proposal in the amount of $25,900 is what's being recommended tonight. These funds were included in the 2026 budget and would be funded from the 401 account that's listed in your letter there. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? So this is the last piece of Monroe Street effectively that we'll need to get worked on, correct?
We will be in fantastic shape on Monroe Street almost the entire length once this one's done. So we'll be in real good shape for years to come.
Plus the Erie project
That's right.
also in
Very
twenty-seven,
good.
correct?
Good point, absolutely.
All the way to Centennial.
That's right.
Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 28, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance number 28, 2026. I'll read by title only. Accepting the proposal of Feller, Finch and Associates, Inc. to provide professional surveying and engineering services for the Monroe Street, Main Street to Haroon Road resurfacing project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $25,900, and I'll make a motion for passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 28, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance number 28, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 10, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In front of you tonight is an equipment purchase out of our water department. This is for a new utility tracer and leak detection unit. Really brief, super fantastic device, probably one of the most heavily used devices that we have in our water department. Keeping our contractors safe, keeping our city guys safe when we're excavating, making sure we locate utilities accurately is incredibly important. What's great about this particular device is it also has a fold-in feature that allows us to do leak detection better. As a matter of fact, we don't have the ability to detect leaks underneath pavement. We have to use an outside source that has that ability to do that. And this device that we're proposing to purchase here can do that, so that when we do have a water main break or something underneath a road, this piece of technology gives us the ability to do that. So this is from Utilities Technologies. They're out of Lebanon, Ohio. There's two pieces of equipment here. One for $21,834 for most of the detection needs that come with that, as well as $7,131 for the acoustic leak detector portion of that. So the total cost is $28,965, paid for out of 4 different 701 account items there. So this is out of our water fund, and this was included in our budget for 2026. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Shaw, you note here in your memo that the cost of outside services is $3,000 per occurrence. How often does that happen?
Well, we had one in front of Sodders that was a really big deal. A couple years ago, we just had another one on Monroe Street. I would say a couple times a year, we're probably getting something underneath the pavement. So, we may have $8,000 to $10,000 and someone coming in and identifying a leak under a pavement for us. So,
How long does it take for the individual or the company to show up once we call them?
pretty quick, not too bad, about a couple hours, maybe within 2 hours. Usually we have to dial the valves down and let the water bleed out anyways before we can actually start to dig. But this helps us too, because if we suspect there's a leak somewhere, this can also be proactive instead of just reactive, right? This is a reactive thing to dig up what we think is a perceived problem. If we have an idea, we hear some rushing water, we can actually use this device to help us try to locate that better too before we actually see an issue. So, but
Great, thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Shaw, the life of the unit?
we have had our previous detection device for going on 13 years. So anywhere from 10 to 15 years, we anticipate this device lasting for us.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance 29, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 29-2026, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept the proposal of Utility Technologies LLC for the purchase of one new utility tracer and leak detection equipment for the Division of Water, Department of Public Service, appropriating $28,965 therefore. I move for passage of ordinance number 29-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 29, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 29, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 11, we have the traffic code enforcement codified ordinances. Mr. Shaw?
Sure, I will be happy to get this one started. Maybe the law director can jump in if she feels she needs to. So we are amending.
You didn't move, so I figured you
No.
wanted to
No,
take
that's
this.
fine.
It's better for Joe to do law stuff than for me to do engineering stuff.
This is in addition to defining junk vehicles into our code. So we got started on the nuisance abatement processes last year. We had our first one towards the end of the year that went really successful. They have a couple of junk cars that are on the property too. And city across the city, we do have from time to time junk vehicles. But our code lacked the definition for what exactly constituted that. And more importantly, for nuisance abatement procedures, that definition is super important so that we're making sure that we're following everything that's in the revised code on how to do that, what qualifies that, how do you establish value. So we're fortunate Ohio Revised Code has a very good section on this particular piece. If you're interested, it's 4513.60 through 65 if you want to read that. This almost copies it verbatim, substituting out different state functions with chief of police and city of Sylvania type stuff. So we wanted to make sure this particular code matched the ORC as closely as possible. City of Toledo does about 300 or so nuisance vehicle removals every year, which is an incredible amount if you think about it. But they have a particular section of their code, 529.09 through 11, that addresses the exact same thing. Their code language looks exactly like the revised code. So this gives us it in our municipal code. This gives us the teeth to allow us to go after these certain vehicles that qualify under here. Will this capture all of the vehicles that we, I guess, collectively think of as junk vehicles? No, it will not. So this is only a particular subset of this that allows us to do that. So, Law Director, I'm not sure if I did a good job
You
on
did
that.
a great job, Joe.
Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw, our interim law director, for the next 2.5 minutes, or Ms. Bridie? Mr.
We do it
McCann.
all because we don't have this.
How often are we asked, or have we been?
Yeah, we get asked about vehicle parking and junk vehicles quite a bit. We do. Not everything qualifies. I mean, what some people consider as a junk vehicle, to one person, maybe not. As long as it's got registered place and it's up and the tires are up, sometimes there's very little we can do. But there are certain very instances where the vehicle's up on blocks, 30 years old, certainly may qualify as a junk vehicle and would allow us to pursue it under this.
Yeah, I think in 1984, I was driving a 73 Chevy Malibu that had decent tires, but it had a lot of holes in it.
It's a great point you bring up though. So the code is very specific on classic cars as well, like what you would call vintage cars, and it has a protection for those that you can't do with this anyway. So we did a lot of research on this. I was very impressed with how well this was defined in a lot of different spots, including the revised code. So
Not to get too in the weeds, but what are the steps or enforcement measures?
sure. I mean, we would go out and see one. We say, yep, we think this one may qualify. Chief of police has kind of an authority to assess value to it. She may be able to speak more freely about that process, but kind of Kelly blue booking it based on records and year and stuff like that to get that underneath that $1,500 value. So you just kind of plug it in and see where it goes. If it is below that, then it would qualify. If it's above that, then this doesn't help us in that matter. But she has I mean, you may want to speak on that a little more, Chief, than me.
Yeah, there's a couple of options, Kelly Blue Book and Edmunds.com, and they only go back so far. So we're limited to on the number of years. I think it's like 20 or 25 years. And beyond that, you can't use them because they're not even recognizing as a value. And that's where then you would have to look at, is it a classic and condition, and everything would come into play.
Thank you. One person's junk is another person's vintage.
One person's junk
So that's-
car is the other person's car.
Right.
But the key is that, is it registered or is it not? You can have a 70-year-old car, but if it's registered and operational, then it doesn't qualify. Age doesn't matter. Is it registered, is it busted, is it broken down, or the tires? So it's pretty specific. Any other questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, Mr. Hanem.
Move adoption of ordinance number 30-2026, amending Part 3 Traffic Code of the Codified Ordinances of Sylvania 1979 as amended by amending Chapter 303 303, enforcement, impounding, and penalty. And I move adoption of ordinance number 30/2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 30/2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance number 30/2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 12, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not so wonderful news was delivered to me shortly after we did sewer and water rate adjustments in November. This message coming from the Lucas County Sanitary Engineer's Office. They recently had a personnel change, had a new guy come in, a lot newer than I am in this role. And he let me know that they had 7 projects that they had been performing either at the wastewater treatment plant or upstream of it, that they should have been issuing note payments to all of the satellite communities for the loan that was taken out to build these projects. The 7 are listed there, but in short, every year that one of those was on there, we should have been receiving a note payment to help pay for that. Most of these notes were over a 10-year period. He tripped over it and found the error and noticed that all satellite communities for these 7 projects were not being invoiced accordingly. So we have a catch up to do on various note payments that are listed here that go as far back as 2020. They're listed there for you. So the note payments for each that are due are there. He was very good about it. He obviously recognized the issue, understands that put us in a really bad situation, especially after doing rate adjustments. So worked with Toby and the finance department to come up with some ideas on how to address something like this. The best way that we came up with was just like what you would do at your home. You have something large that hits you, you cut your expenses, and that's what we're proposing to do here. So in the 2026 budget, we had the purchase of a new jet truck that we use in our sewer operations. We also had the purchase of a plow truck that we use to plow our various pumping stations that we have. That was $370,000. So we did a good job of making up a good bulk of that, but we still have $38,000 and some change left. That would be an additional appropriation that we did not count for in the sewer budget to address this. So we are proposing to make up the note payment in full, the $407,000, but just not do the expenses that we were looking to do this year in terms of our purchases. So kind of a nutshell, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Mrs. Westphal.
Mr. Shaw, are they asking us to do a one-time payment? Are they, it's their error.
He was very flexible. He said, he goes, I know this is not great news for you. I'm open to ideas.
Are the other communities that are impacted by this charge the same amount? How is this determined?
So we are a percentage of the treatment plan and those improvements. So just pick the first one off the bat for lining the trunk sewer from the plant up to manhole number 2. We're 24% of the capacity. So anything that goes with that project, we're 24% of the cost. So the varying agencies, depending on what their flow is to the plant, they pay those percentages for each project as well.
Does that vary by project or is it the same for each project?
For these types of projects, it's locked in the same. It's based on plant capacity, correct? It's not flow based. Right.
Well, I appreciate that you did a hard analysis of where you were and found a way to cut some expenses so that we could move forward with payment on this. It seems an unfortunate circumstance, but I appreciate your problem solving.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Shaw, when are we notified about any of these? Is there any notification process that these projects are going on, whether they have or haven't invoiced us?
Yep, that's a great question. So every time that the county sanitary engineer does one of these projects, they usually go after Ohio Public Works Commission funds. And as a part of that grant process that they submit for, all the satellite communities sign on and say, yes, we agree to pay a certain percentage of the project when it comes due. So we're acknowledging these, we recognize them. Had a couple changeovers both at this end as well as the sanitary engineer's end. That I think some of that got lost, and I'm sure on Nate's end, thankful that he probably caught it on his end because he was probably staring at a pretty ugly number.
I would just think if there's a tickler file that we have where we can be like, hey, we're at the end of the year and this project, we never got billed. You hate to ask for an invoice,
We used to do.
hate to get $400,000
so-
invoices at the same time, you know?
I will say, it's a good point. Regional water is great because we're required to meet, I believe it's 6 times per year, but we're very regimented about it. All the satellite communities show up. On the sanitary side, it used to be, we used to have satellite community meetings once a quarter, kind of when the invoices came out where you could ask questions and talk about different stuff. That trailed off a couple years ago. I've really championed this new sanitary engineer to bring those back because there's a lot of new faces that don't know debt service and how that stuff works. So I'm trying to get that going again where we can have quarterly meetings so that something like this doesn't happen again. Cause it would have been the perfect example to be like, well, hey, why didn't we receive, when are we getting note payments? When are these coming due? And we could have had those discussions.
Budgeted for it, yeah,
That's right.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hanson?
I agree with Mrs. Westfall on, I appreciate all the work done to find ways to offset this between you and Mr. Schroyer. But what does that do, being that we're not getting the jet truck and plow truck? How does that affect the operation?
Of course, that's what I think about, right? I don't like being without, especially on a sanitary sewer system, but we've talked about what would happen in the event that truck had an issue in the next 12 to 18 months when it gets put into the next budget and we buy it, right? So our current vac truck has jetting capabilities, which is fine. If there's something that happens with this truck, we don't go without. But it certainly is from it limits your abilities in the event something like that happens. We can go and rent a piece of equipment. We can bring one in if we run into a jam. We can grab one really, really quick from one of our vendors up in Michigan and say, hey, we're in a jam. We need to rent one. Worst case scenario, we rent one and we're out a few bucks. But we just did a fairly large repair on this one, which is kind of what pushed the jet truck kind of up towards the top. I will say the unit's from 2000. It's 25 years old. I say that a lot here. We get a lot of our pieces of equipment. This one for sure is tired. We can probably do it and get by okay. If we run into a jam, we'll rent. Okay. Yeah, great.
Rather than rent, maybe the sanitary engineer could do us a solid and give it to us for free if we need one.
Right, great ask. Great ask.
Mr. Hanson, you asked the exact same questions I asked too. It was exactly my thought process, like, wait a second.
So there are rental capabilities available. We rent from another community or?
I would probably rent from the vendor where we're buying it from. I think they have some up there that are readily available. Sometimes mutual aid sounds good, but when you're talking about those and you're sticking your stuff down into a sewer, they get probably a little ouchy if it gets stuck and something happens to it. So I'll have that in my back pocket if I need somebody local, but most likely we would rent.
Okay.
They did not get a Christmas card from me this year.
I understand, thank
Well, they
you.
got very expensive
Any other
Christmas
questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have ordinance number 31, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 31-2026, appropriating $407,803.92 for the payment of the city's portion of note payments for the Lucas County Water Resource Recovery Facility. I move for passage of ordinance number 31-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 31, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 31, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 13, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are requesting to start another letter of interest solicitation. This one on our second water line ask of the year. So we've got about 6 water line projects that we're gonna build into the hopper, get engineering done, and then we can pluck and play over the next few years on some water line improvements. So this one is Monroe Street, between Silvertown and Whiteford Road. Most of this section of water main is from 1965, so we're pushing on a good 60-some years, which is awesome, which is really good. 50 years is kind of what you bank for, and if you get bonus stuff on top of that, that's great. So this one's ready for a replacement. It's towards the extreme end of our system on Monroe Street as we go to Whiteford Road. So we're requesting the authorization to start a letter of interest process for consultants to design the project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Shaw? Hearing none, we have request for begin the LOI solicitation for consideration on this project. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to request letters of interest from engineering consultants for the Monroe Street Waterline Improvement Project from Silvertown Drive to Whiteford Road.
Second.
A motion and a second to authorize the administration to solicit for letters of interest regarding a potential water line project from Silvertown Drive to Whiteford Road. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 14. We have a banner for potential approval over top. Mr. Shaw, do you want to take this or do you want Ms. Browning to do this?
Be happy to do it real quick, just a brief thing. You guys have seen these many times over the years. We took a brief pause with the construction project. So we're back having Main Street open and we can have banners, and this is our first one. Just so that you guys know where it's going to go. We have our overhead bistro lights that's in that block. The very first set of poles in front of those closest to Monroe Street is where the banner will go between those two. So that's all I would add, Mayor.
One thing that popped in my mind when you mentioned that to me, Mr. Shaw, was given the current banner that has gone up multiple years, are the poles high enough to allow for the, because I'm assuming these things are attached in the center, right? And so this thing is not a bistro light, it's gonna fall down, what, like a couple feet?
Yeah, it has two attachments on the top, two on the bottom,
Mhm.
and then it's just strung between both of those strands. The goal is to get that bottom strand at least as high, if not higher, than what you would have for your traffic signals around town, which is around 17 feet or so.
Okay.
So as long as we meet that minimum threshold, we'll be just fine for vehicles passing underneath.
So we're not gonna have a truck clipping off our school district's banner, correct?
We will not.
Okay. Just double checking.
We will double and triple check.
That could be embarrassing,
Understand?
so I appreciate that. Other questions for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Shaw, I'm just curious, obviously this is the schools, but what are the requirements or what cannot people request to put up on the banner?
It's very specific in the code. It's civic. So if it's school or Lords and Sylvania, schools are about the only ones that do it.
Okay,
Fall Festival, excuse me. That's right, Fall
Excellent.
Festival.
got it, thank you, I'm just curious, thanks.
Yeah,
And do you print these?
No, the vendor or the
Just curious.
applicants get them made their own. Oh, no, we don't. Yeah, we don't. We hang them though. That's all we do.
Thanks,
We
okay.
hang 'em. That's
I
it.
didn't know.
And the fee offsets
Yeah,
the
the
cost.
fees, that's right. Good point.
and by us doing it, it makes sure that it's done the way it needs to be done, number one. And I don't remember when this occurred, but I was on council at the time where there was a lot of conversation on the appropriate approach to this, so that Joe's bail bond doesn't necessarily have a banner in downtown Sylvania.
Oh, yeah, that's why I was just wondering what the rules were.
Right.
They're required to have certificates of liability insurance on file with us before we hang them, so, and even something happens.
So we have ordinance 32, 2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move adoption of ordinance number 32, 2026. I'll read by title only, approving the banner application of Sylvania Schools, authorizing the zoning administrator to indicate such approval on behalf of the city of Sylvania, and I move adoption of ordinance number 32, 2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 32, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 32, 2026 is adopted as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 15, we have ordinance number 33, 2026. Ms. Browning, you want to take this?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just actually ordered legislation that came back after the committee meeting, made the proposed changes and included the change order. If the change order results in a decrease, that's now 11002A. And then the other thresholds were as discussed, and still requires any change order to be ratified by city council, but just provides definitive procedure for prior authorization, or conditional authorization.
Questions for Ms. Browning? Hearing none, we have ordinance 33, 2026 for consideration. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 33-2026, and I'll read by title only. Revising the administrative, departmental, and divisional organization of the city and the codified ordinances thereof by adding Sylvania Codified Ordinance Chapter 110, change order procedure. And I move passage of ordinance number 33-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 33-2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 33-2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item number 16. We have proposed ordinance number 34-2026. Ms. Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proposed ordinance to authorize a customer supply agreement with Archer Energy for natural gas to residential and small commercial customers. That's currently who serves our residential and small commercial customers. The current agreement expires in May, and they've provided an offer for an additional 12 months. So I would recommend approval of this agreement.
Questions for Ms. Browning?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson?
the last agreement was a 20-month term.
Yes,
This one is 12
12,
months.
yes.
What drives that
It's
duration?
it's based on the market. The natural gas market is very volatile, and we just really go up based on our consultant's recommendation for what they propose to be the best term, length, and also what would be the best savings for the customers.
Other questions for Ms. Browning? Hearing none, we have ordinance 34-2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 34-2026, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a customer supply agreement with Archer Energy for the provision of natural gas to residential and small commercial customers within the city of Sylvania, beginning in June 2026. I move for passage of ordinance number 34-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 34-2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and ordinance 34-2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda
Mr.
item.
Mayor, I have a
Yes,
question.
Mr. Hanem.
Your Palmer Energy.
I own the majority of it, yes.
How does, is there any problem with you signing the contract with the Palmer Energy recommendation?
No,
That's not an issue?
No.
Not a conflict?
No.
Okay.
no, because there's no money. Palmer doesn't
to
receive
Palmer.
any money from the city.
It's a $0 contract for the city.
Okay.
'Cause I asked the exact same
Yes.
question, Mr. Hanem.
Thanks for me.
In fact, I even
Yes.
asked her today whether I'm even allowed to even introduce it, and I was gonna kick it over to
Yeah.
Mrs. Westfall for
Yeah.
exactly the question you're
Yeah.
thinking about.
As I was reading it, I was
Get
Yeah,
it?
it's fair,
glad it's
Yes.
covered. Thank you.
yes.
Yep. Moving on to agenda item number 17, we have ordinance 35-2026. Ms. Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the electric aggregation side. So in this same way that we handle the natural gas provision for our NOAC customers, we received the same proposals back from different suppliers to provide electric. And Dynegy and Direct Energy have kind of competing. We're gonna try to enter into negotiations with both of them to see which gives us the better deal. And Leslie Kovacic at the City of Toledo handles all of the negotiations because Toledo obviously has way more customers than we do, and she's been doing this. I remember working with her and Lance Kiefer back in 2000 to establish NOAC, so she's got a lot of experience. So she's working to get the terms finalized, and then it will be based on whoever will give us the best rate for the customers will be who we enter into the agreement with. And once that's all finalized, I will of course let you all know, so, because I'm sure you'll be getting questions from residents.
Questions for Ms. Browning? Hearing none, we have ordinance 35-2026 for consideration. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 35-2026, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a customer supply agreement for the provision of electric energy to residential and small commercial customers within the city of Sylvania, I move for passage of ordinance number 35-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 35, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 18, we have an ordinance number 36, 2026 for consideration. Ms. Smith, hold on. First time I've ever said in regards to an ordinance, Ms. Smith.
First time I'm speaking on one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With this proposal from WorkSpring, I am excited and looking forward to expanding our HR department. With training from WorkSpring, I would like to get a digital onboarding for our employees, crisis management, employee wellness, and employee relations within departments and within the entire city. So I look forward to working with WorkSpring and getting the necessary training for this.
Questions for Ms. Smith?
So can you, so what we're looking at here, this is just for your training?
It's for HR support,
Yeah.
and they also have, for the year, maybe I should expand on that a little bit. This proposal is going to include everything that I just mentioned plus more. With a simple membership, they do have an HR support hotline that I can utilize anytime. So,
Say this, don't say that.
yes, so, yeah.
I need that.
And this contract will run for 12 months?
For this year,
For this
so
year.
it'll end December 31st. And then I would like to maintain the membership because you can get discounted classes and also, like I said, the HR hotline after the expiration of this proposal.
And Ms. Smith, what's the membership annual cost, just to get, so the council knows?
The membership?
Yeah.
I think it's $648 a year.
That's for this particular.
That's just for a membership. For this proposal,
There's an hourly rate.
yes, it is an hourly rate. It's within the ordinance. A lot of it is going to be done over the phone and also the training, much travel, part of them.
Are we HR certified through SHRM or any other HR organization?
That is another thing at the top of my list is training and audit of all compliance reporting. And that's what I would like to learn and find that out, and I will
Step
have
by
an answer
step.
for you.
Super. Thank you.
We could actually outsource the entire HR function to WorkSpring if we chose to. Okay? But obviously that's not to the benefit of our community. I don't believe we're the employees, but they do offer that service. Thank you. Other questions for Ms. Smith? Hearing none, we have ordinance 36, 2026 for consideration. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 36-2026, accepting the proposal of WorkSpring to provide professional human resources support and consultant services to the city of Sylvania for the calendar year 2026. I move for passage of ordinance number 36-2026 as an emergency measure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 36, 2026 as an emergency measure. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried and ordinance 36, 2026 is approved as an emergency measure. Moving on to agenda item 19, we have a request to set a Parks and Forestry Committee meeting. Mr. Murphy.
Sure, I'd like to schedule a Parks and Forestry meeting for Tuesday, February 17th at 6 p.m.
Mr. Murphy, I wonder if you'd consider having that meeting prior to the committee of the whole. Is that an option?
Sure.
Because everybody would need to be present for the committee of the whole. That's why I'm saying that, but not for the Parks and
What time do you
Forest.
think would work best for everybody? 5:30?
Is that,
I'll think, yeah, you only have a couple little, 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes is good.
We can push the, if council, if the committee of the whole takes longer, we'll just hold back on the council meeting until the committee of the whole is finished. I mean, we gotta we gave ourselves an extra hour for exactly this kind of occurrence, so.
So I guess make a motion to have that meeting on February 17th at 5:30.
That's a motion from, Mr. Murphy to set a Parks and Forestry Committee meeting at 5:30 here in council chambers on Tuesday, February 17th. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set a Parks and Forestry Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 17th at 5:30 PM. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the clerk will notify and post the Parks and Forestry Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 17th at 5:30 here in council chambers. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 19A, which is Committee of the Whole regarding proposed legislation. Mrs. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to schedule the committee of the whole meeting for Tuesday, February 17th at 6 PM here in the council chambers for review and discussion of ordinance number 37-2026 as presented by Mr. Hanem. And I would put that out as a motion, but just to make sure that works with that kind of an informal check, does that work with people? Okay, so I put that out as a motion then.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to set a Committee of the Whole regarding proposed legislation on ordinance number 37-2026 at 6 PM on Tuesday, February 17th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All opposed? Motion carried, and the Committee of the Whole was set for Tuesday, February 17th at 6 PM here in council chambers. Moving on to agenda item 19C, I believe, Ms. Stowe, are you looking to push back on this one as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. Regarding SUP 1-2026, which is agenda item 19C, we have a request from Ms. Stowe for a potential conflict of interest, a request to push back from the table. Do I have a motion to do so?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allow Ms. Stowe to push back from the table regarding SUP 1-2026 due to a potential conflict of interest. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and Ms. Stowe, you're pushed back from the table. We have SUP 1-2026, which needs to be referred to the Planning Commission, correct?
That's correct, yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Ability Center is currently a special use permit, so, and they're looking to add some parking and in addition to one of the buildings, so this requires an amendment to their existing special use permit. And then I'll just dovetail right into the second SUP, and this is kind of this is just to clean up some internal zoning issues on our end. It's a mixed parcel SUP, which really doesn't exist, so we want to just clear it up, make everything B2 SUP. So that's why there's two different special use permit numbers on that.
Questions for Ms. Brining regarding SUP 1-2026?
I have a quick question, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Brining, I'm sorry, you probably explained this, there is a small building as well as parking that's gonna be added?
Yes, there's an addition, a 10,000 square foot addition to one of the buildings.
Yep.
Other questions for Ms. Brining? Hearing none, Mr. Hanem, would you make a motion to
Yeah,
refer this to the Planning Commission?
I move we refer SUP 1-2026 to the Planning Commission for its review and recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to refer SUP 1-2026 to the Municipal Planning Commission for recommendation and review. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Hanson, if you're willing to sit tight, I think we can handle both number one and number two at the same time while Ms. Dow still, so we don't have to do this all over again. Okay, fair enough. So we have SUP 2-2026, recognizing that Ms. Dow is agenda item 19E, is still pushed back from the table. Mr. Hanem.
Move that we refer application number SUP 2-2026 to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to refer SUP 2-2026 2026 to the Municipal Planning Commission for review and recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, and let the record reflect that Ms. Dow has returned to the table. Moving on to agenda item 19D, we have a TEMACOG summary. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the TEMACOG General Assembly on Friday, as did Mr. Mayor, as well as Township Trustee John Genowine. And we also had Sylvania Chamber Representative Tiffany Bosch and Ken Wines. And I just wanted to give kind of a brief overview. So in the meeting, if you haven't been there before, they break it out into different caucuses. So city caucus, township, villages, and so on. I think there's 7 different ones. Each caucus then does a report out on what was discussed. There's not any action taken. It's just an open discussion between communities. But it sounded like the indication I got was that every caucus discussed very, very much the same topics, which was property taxes, in the sense that there's some movement in the state to amend the way property taxes are handled and how our community is going to handle that if that comes to fruition. Where will the funding come from, et cetera. That was one big topic. Another one was data centers, and just kind of the negative connotation that the public seems to have jumped at as far as implementing those. And I would say the third topic, if I had to pick the top 3, was probably housing crisis in general, throughout, again, this isn't just in Sylvania, but throughout the southeast Michigan and northwest Ohio area. Also in those caucuses, there's a board, and Mayor Fry was nominated and elected to be a board member for the city caucus. So congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Mr. Hanson.
And then following the caucus report out, Sandy Spang, the executive director of TEMACOG, spoke, and at that meeting, as I think, Mayor, you alluded to it at our last council meeting, there was an approval to change the name to Lake Erie West Regional Council. That was approved in that meeting. And she also mentioned their focus would be, Mr. Shaw, you will like this, their focus will be on GIS. They're bringing in some experts and additional resources on their end to help with that in our region. She talked about the watershed watch. They're opening a satellite office in Fremont for the first time, and they're doing a comprehensive economic development summit between 5 counties on March 6th. And then lastly, there were some keynote speakers from Great Lakes cities and Cuyahoga counties that talked about the Great Lakes. They did say the Great Lakes provides 20% of the world's fresh water, which I didn't realize it was that much. And they're looking at the same time, the Seaway is only at 30% capacity, so they feel there's a lot of room for growth in the Great Lakes region. They're billing it from a marketing standpoint. The term they used was Fresh Coast. We're going to be calling that the Fresh Coast Corridor to try to attract some additional development there. Mayor, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add. You were there as well.
No, I kind of sort of volunteered for that role, but no, I think you did a great summary, Mr. Hanson. I think it was a good session. I would encourage any member of council who has the time in the future, it's worthwhile to hear. There were probably 50, 60 elected officials from just the cities that were in the city caucus, mayors, members of council, and the like. So it was well attended, and the general angst amongst the entire group regarding the subjects that you were referring to. So,
We still have a free lunch.
Mr. Hanum?
Still have a free lunch afterwards?
Yeah.
Yes. Kind of. Well, it's kind of a free lunch.
Yeah.
Sold.
But if anybody wants to go in the future, obviously the city covers those expenses if that's something that you're interested in doing. So I would encourage any of you to avail yourself of those opportunities. So anything else to come before the agenda before the potential consideration of executive session? Hearing none,
Is Mr. Beasley on board?
yeah.
He's good.
So I would like to ask for a motion to enter into committee of the whole executive session for the potential personnel issues. Will the clerk, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to enter committee of the whole executive session for a matter regarding personnel issues. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanem,
Yes.
Mr. McCann,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Ms. Stout,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
All 7 members having voted in the affirmative, we are entering executive session committee of the whole to discuss personnel matters. Thank you very